how did you propose?
Not in public. I was like, what kind of proposal? I said no. You got tears.
I was just laughing. Stephanie was like, I'm playing in this Christmas faculty concert and we need to make a big impression. So you have to write something for us that's virtuosic. And I was like, yes, okay. So I wrote it and it was intentionally really virtuosic. And then I showed it to her and she's like, why is it so hard?
What would your advice be for young people or anybody who's looking to go down the music path?
Well, I mean, I've kind of simplified it to two things, which is number one, you have to like teaching, because whatever you do, there's going to be some element of teaching involved.
Hi everyone!
Hi everyone.
We're the Meeks Duo.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Claire. And today we have invited two very, very special and awesome pianists. And actually, they were both my classmates back in New York at the Manhattan School of Music. Back then, we actually didn't cross paths, so I knew of them, but never had a chance to talk to them until magically, Scott one day came to me and told me about this amazing arrangement, and it turned out it was Edward Neeman's arrangement of Waltz of the Flowers. And then, so I was telling him that actually they were my classmates. And how did you come across this arrangement?
I don't remember exactly, but I remember being blown away by this crazy virtuosic arrangement of the Waltz of Flowers from the Nutcracker, and so I reached out to Edward, and he's sent me his arrangement, and from there we've played several more of his amazing arrangements, and we love his style.
Yeah.
And we should mention also, Edward and Stephanie are a married couple like us, and they live in Australia currently.
They're the Neeman Duo. So let's welcome the Neeman Duo. Hi!
Hi.
How are you guys?
Yeah, good. How are you guys?
Good. How long have you guys been married?
We've been married since 2011, so it's been...
So last year we celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, so...
Oh, congratulations.
So, how did you meet at Manhattan School of Music?
Yes, we did actually. Yeah, we crossed paths at. Do you know Jong Yoon Lee?
No.
So anyway, so Yoon is our friend, and she had a birthday party, and it was my bachelor years, and he just came in as a master's student, right, at Manhattan School. So. We went to her birthday party at her apartment, and then we met, and we knew each other for about 2 years before we started dating.
Oh, okay.
How did you start dating?
We just...
I want the juicy details.
It wasn't anything exciting. We just were out with friends, and we had some mutual friends. So we had some dinners together, and we had a great time, and we were laughing a lot.
And he called me or wrote me an email. Apparently it was like drafted, because he has to plan it out.
I was a planner.
Yeah.
It took me a long time. So you could say we met in 2006 and we didn't start dating until 2008. So for me, that's as fast as I get.
Was it a love at first sight kind of thing? Or
No?
It took its time, but it's lasted.
Yeah. Did you play together during the dating phase or before you started dating? Did you have any chance to play together?
We didn't play together before we started dating.
No.
We organized a recital in Australia that summer because we would be on holiday and Stephanie wanted to come to Australia and we thought it would be a fun thing to do a recital together here. So our first recital together was in Australia in 2008.
Oh.
Yes.
And then we went to Indonesia and we also did a recital. Actually, I think that year I did a solo recital in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And the following year we did a recital together. And we started playing more and more often together. I would say like musically we have different ideas and different tastes. And that makes it challenging sometimes to work together. But it also means that we kind of balance each other out, you know, smooth out the rough edges.
When you played back then together, was it any of your original arrangements or other?
So the first concert we did in Australia, we had
Second Suite.
we had two pianos. So we were doing all the standard two piano stuff. We did Rachmaninoff Second Suite. We did Mio
Lutoslawski.
Scaramouche.
Yeah.
We did Lutoslawski
Paganini
Paganini variations.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of
Just standard classic stuff. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And then we had another opportunity to play at a concert series in New Jersey in the fall of that year. And we decided, that had to be on one piano because there was only one piano available. And we found that to be like a recurring thing, that we would want to do a
asked to
concert
do
at a smaller
something,
venue or a church, and they'd only have one piano, or the second piano would be like an upright or not in good condition. So it was much more musically satisfying to play on one piano. And for that concert, I did an arrangement of Some Enchanted Evening, which was kind of like a sort of sweet little love thing that I gave to Stephanie. And
but it's something that you grew up with also, right? Because you
actually, the first musical I watched when I was like 5, I think, was South Pacific. This was when I was living in Charlottesville, Virginia, and they have these outdoor shows. Well, the Ashlon Festival has now moved indoors, but it used to be out on the grounds of James Madison's home. And so it was like really fun place, and they put on musicals. It was like a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical every year. And my first musical I ever saw was South Pacific. So Some Enchanted Evening had special resonance for me. And so we did that. That was the first arrangement that I did. And the first time we played it was in this concert series
in Princeton.
Princeton, in New Jersey, in 2008. And actually 2 years later, at that same concert series, Stephanie played a solo recital. And after that recital, I went backstage and I proposed to her. So.
Oh.
Aww.
Wow. What a story.
Hey, that was coming up. So how did you propose?
Not in public. It was in the backstage.
Stephanie was.
I was like, what kind of proposal is this? I said no.
So you would have
doesn't-
preferred a public proposal?
No, but I mean, it was
Apparently,
just.
I didn't.
Anyway, no, but I don't know.
I was hoping for an outdoor proposal.
It was like a blizzard. There was a blizzard. No,
Stephanie doesn't
around
go
that
outdoor
time.
in February in New Jersey. That is not a time that Stephanie goes
Well,
outdoors.
you have to understand, right? This is New Jersey. It's not like the city, right? Where the sidewalk gets cleared, within 24 hours, and it's you can still walk when there's a blizzard, after a blizzard. And this is snowing heavily, and it was like I don't know, like a foot or 2 feet of snow on the ground. I mean, he's like, "Oh, let's go for a walk." I'm like, "Do you think I'm gonna go out for a walk?" I mean, and I think that is still the time when I still haven't invested on like the down jacket, which I think because before it was like, oh, you gotta get this like wool coat, which looks more fashionable, but not as not as warm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I
But
couldn't
you're
get her
Canadian,
outside in
so-
February, so I
Anyway.
just had to propose inside.
That's memorable still.
Yeah, that's a good story to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, we loved your Some Enchanted Evening.
Yeah,
so,
so I was
thank you.
gonna say, was that video made the idea and everything? Made,
Your YouTube video.
the YouTube video, which you included a little bit of a story, was that made to be part of the proposal, or
No,
was that
that-
before?
That came later. That came later.
That came later.
That was like
We had the arrangement, and then we put it on YouTube. And at the time, like, we were inspired by different things we saw on YouTube. We're just kind of feeling the waters of how things work on YouTube, and it feels like a much simpler time those days
Yes.
on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely.
Nowadays there's so much content, and it feels like, wow, I don't know how I can compete in this landscape, and like I don't know how you guys like release a video every week. That's just
amazing. Yeah.
crazy productivity. I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into it, like every step of the way.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, a full-time job.
Yeah, well, people think
sure.
it's just making a video or whatever, but it's really a lot of work. Yeah, like you have to
Well, it
craft
depends. Like
this,
some people do just make a video, like just put a camera, show their hands, and that's it. But we try to,
We try to do
do
something
more,
a
yeah.
little bit
Cinematic.
fancier.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cinematic stuff and the arranging, and then the practicing, and then
reply.
there's so many
Yeah.
little things that go into this stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing, just that level of productivity. So I remember at the time, like the big thing in the duet world on YouTube, and still is Anderson and Rowe.
Yes.
And they had those really cool videos that they released, I think around 2008, like the Liber Tango video,
Yeah.
you know, which has a lot of that kind of, romantic, sexy elements woven in. And so that's what got me thinking about making a story with Some Enchanted Evening, sort of the idea of, you know, me waiting for somebody to show up and they don't show up, and then Stephanie shows up, and then I'm like, oh, this is what I wanted after all, kind of thing. That was the whole idea.
Are either of you camera shy?
I mean, probably not. Are you?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah. You got tears.
I'm just laughing.
Are you planning to do more of that kind of music video style production?
Maybe.
Well, we have some
I don't know.
thoughts, but I mean, I do everything slow. I mean, not just asking Stephanie out on a date, but generally, I'm the kind of person who keeps things in mind, and eventually things gradually come to fruition. And YouTube is something we do. We try to put stuff up there every now and then, you know, just to remind people that we're around, but we have completely different jobs on the other in real life.
Yeah.
Yes.
We actually do more teaching and performing, and YouTube is sort of just kind of a couple times a year, and and our son especially takes a lot of time. So
Music-wise, was it difficult during pregnancy?
So, I mean, I planned my pregnancy, right? So, for example, I was doing my doctorate, and then I made sure that I finished my last recital before I got pregnant, because I felt like if I finish my recital, I don't have to perform when I'm pregnant. I mean, God knows what happened, and I can be pregnant and do my thesis, my dissertation. While I was pregnant, I thought that was doable. So straight after I finished my last recital, I was like, okay, well, let's get pregnant, you know. And in fact, when I graduated, that's when I was like pretty much 8 months pregnant or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like really, really big when I got my DMA. Yeah, so and then he basically, I gave birth to him a month after I graduated when I walked. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was planned. Yeah.
Well, everything worked out according to your plan.
Well, yeah, we were lucky. So so I mean, being pregnant, I think it was fine. But then even when I planned it and said, okay, well, I might not have to do a recital or a concert while I was pregnant. Actually, I got asked to play a piece at the time was the head of composition department at CCM and University of Cincinnati, Joel Hoffman. It was his recital. It was a faculty recital, and he asked me to play one of his pieces. So, and by that time, I was 6 months pregnant. I was quite big, and I was but it was fine. You know, it was a little bit like nervous. You know, I was quite nervous, just like not for the performance, but just the feeling of like this is not me. You know, my body is different. But otherwise, it went fine. And you know, I guess it's okay. So
I've always wondered how difficult it would be to keep up with the practices during pregnancy, because I hear, you know, like it's not comfortable.
I think the practice is fine. You know, it's actually a lot more work when the baby comes. You know, the pregnancy is fine. I mean, look, your body changes, and you know, you have morning sickness and blah blah, but you know, but when the baby comes, that's when, you know, when it's really tiring and you just don't have any energy and you just feel like exhausted all the time. You always have to be attentive to this little person and make sure he's alive and feed them, and you know, the breastfeeding, oh my god. So I think it's much worse when the baby is
So during the first few years after your son's birth, were you still performing or teaching, right? Like
teaching,
before?
yes, definitely. I actually, so you know, this tradition of the 40 days confinement after you gave birth.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. You're not supposed to shower, not supposed to eat this, that.
That's right. It's all like very confined. And you can't actually leave the house. You're supposed to be at home, right?
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I couldn't. I tried my best. My mom like actually brought in, I don't know, like something like 10 kilos of ginger or something, like dried ginger. like I think that was like one of the food that you're supposed to eat. But I couldn't stand it because I mean you know I showered after a week and then and you know you just have to like hair dry your hair, you know. But back then, you know, I'm sure there was no hair dryer, so that's
right.
Might be why they said no shower or whatever. So yeah, but I couldn't do the 40 days. I mean, we had to do a doctor visit like a week after, so which we did, and I started teaching on week 3 because I just couldn't.
How does Edward feel about this tradition?
How do you feel?
I mean, I don't have to do it, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you just have to say yes and support whatever, you know.
Yeah, he doesn't have to
Whatever
give birth,
Stephanie
right?
wants.
He doesn't gotta say, you know.
Were you visiting daily, or I mean, were you staying together during this period?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we had an apartment,
Oh, okay.
a one-bedroom apartment in Cincinnati. So Stephanie was doing her doctorate in Cincinnati, and I was doing my doctorate in New York at the Juilliard School. But the Juilliard School, the way the doctorate works, the coursework is only for 2 years, and then you're pretty much free to go and write your dissertation. So I did 2 years, and then we got married.
Yeah.
That was 2011. I moved to Cincinnati, and I just worked on my dissertation. And I was actually doing an artist diploma in Cincinnati at the same time. So I was getting lessons from Stephanie's teacher, James Toko. I was his teaching assistant, and I was writing my dissertation. And actually, Stephanie graduated before I graduated. Yeah, she was really fast with getting through all the doctorate stuff. And I just took a little longer writing my dissertation. And by the time I graduated, JJ was almost 1 year old. So he came along to my graduation. He's in my graduation videos as well.
Nice.
And then that was the beginning. I mean, he's a very well-traveled kid because we had to take him with us every time we were doing concerts somewhere.
We had no family.
He came along to my graduation.
So,
Stephanie's family's in Indonesia. My family was in Australia. And at the time we were living in the States. So, I mean, living in Cincinnati. So
Neither of your parents were around to help babysitting.
Yeah, it was no one, and it was to the point that we would like play recitals and we just sort of like get random babysitters on the road, you know, and we'll be like, oh, okay, we're going to this university to play, and do you have any students that could babysit, you know, during the time we're playing. So like, and sometimes like sometimes we play together, like for hands, but sometimes you would play solo and I would play solo or something like that. So when you play solo, I would be still backstage with the babysitter and make sure it's okay, and sort of we just take turns. It was pretty nuts, but he's getting bigger now.
Yeah.
So your son does he consider himself American?
good question. I mean,
Living
when
in
we
Australia.
were living in Georgia, he was getting a strong Southern accent.
Oh,
And now we moved to Australia, and he can't say R the American way unless you really push him.
Yeah,
He's just not conscious of it. It's kind of funny, like that kids pick up accents so fast.
yeah, that's right.
wow. So he used to be able to, and then now it's an Australian.
It's much harder. Yeah.
It's an awe.
So
Yes.
it's can I have some water?
Wow.
I'm like I don't understand water. It's water. It's water.
Wow.
Anyway, but he I mean, you know, I think at school with his friend says, you speak American, I don't understand you, you know, or something. But actually to us, he's very much Australian now. Yeah, so.
When did you start the Neeman's Duo? Like
Neeman
officially? Neeman Duo.
I think for a long time we were just playing.
I think we were
Edward
just like
Neeman and Stephanie.
and Edward Neeman or something for a long time. And I was like, I think we should call ourselves something at one point, right? I don't remember exactly when we started that, but it would have been during the time after we published that Waltz of the Flowers video. Which is
that right? So
Yeah.
that was what, 2016, 2015?
Yeah. So
Yes.
it would be around that time, 2016 or so. Yeah.
It wasn't like a big shift that we had to make this decision.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of convenience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie, before we got married, Stephanie didn't have a last name. So we were always Stephanie and Edward Neeman. It worked whether or not we were married or not.
What do you mean by you didn't have a last name?
So if you're an Indonesian, as a girl, it was, very common to just have one name.
Really?
And yeah, absolutely. And then
So what if you know other Stephanies? How do you tell the difference?
Well, there's some other friends of mine that has probably the same name as I do, and then the parents gave them last name. It was like a random last name they want. For example, I have a friend whose last name is Warner, like the Warner brothers. Like he's not really, he's Chinese. He's completely not related to Warner brothers. But the parents just made up that last name for him, and his family or something. So like it was like there's no importance in the name itself, So
And this only applies to girls?
no, pretty much anyone. They just make up names. It's not. So I think that probably has to do with a little bit of identity crisis, right? So it's like this. Obviously, I'm Chinese, but I don't consider myself Chinese because I actually grew up in Indonesia. I'm the third generation there. But for example, my mom was born with a Chinese name, and then she had to change her name to an Indonesian name or an English name because you do not want to be recognized as a Chinese based on your name. Her last name is Lim, so obviously she's Chinese, but there's that transition where they don't allow sort of Chinese names in official documents or something like that, so you have to change it. I'm not quite sure, but name was not as important then in Indonesia, and so I always went by Stephanie, and that was what was in the birth certificate and
on her passport.
And my passport and everything. And
So
actually,
that obviously created problems. Like at Manhattan School of Music, she was
ID
Stephanie, no last name.
No, so my ID was Stephanie, no last name.
Really?
So when she got her diploma from Manhattan School of Music, it said Stephanie, no last name, and she had to go and request another diploma and take off the no last name part.
Right, because wouldn't people think you made that up or
No,
something?
I didn't. And then also, what's funny is that like how in Manhattan they assign you like an email address, right? And then it would be you will be Claire Yuan, and so it'll be CYUAN,
Yes,
and the numbers at MSN, what NYC, edu, whatever, right? So mine would be. I was Snola, so I was Stephanie, no last name. So I was Snola. Snola, like numbers. Anyway.
Wow.
Anyway, that's a long
so,
explanation of why we were always Stephanie and Edward Neeman.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So
Sorry.
that always worked, and then at some point we decided to be Neeman Piano Duo.
Yeah, because it just makes life much easier.
And
so.
that was partly related. Was it related to the video? Maybe it was related to the Waltz the Flowers video.
Yeah, well, I think I was the one that decided. I think we should call ourselves something more like an ensemble rather than like a separate person.
Yeah.
So.
And then we changed our website because we had separate websites. And we're like, we just want one consolidated website, Neeman Piano Duo.
Because it was hard to like cross path. And then the thing is, well, I haven't been doing this, but used to be that he never updated his website, and then there will be events that was never put. So if we just have everything there, then I could just do everything.
That's true.
Which I haven't been doing because I've been kind of busy. But
Yeah, your website's very nice.
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
very
Thanks.
Is
We
it
haven't
up-
updated it again.
We haven't
Like,
updated for 2 years. So,
yeah, it's really it's a lot of work keeping all this stuff updated.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it is.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And so, do you guys argue when you play together?
Can you tell? All the time.
So Edward, you do most of the arranging. When you bring a new arrangement for you to rehearse together, Stephanie, do you offer suggestions or
Yeah, all the time.
order him to make changes?
Yeah, she
Yes,
tells me.
I didn't ask if I ordered him correct. I ordered him to make
Just in your part or in his part too?
Mostly just in my part. Only like in his part when he sort of like, like clash to my parts, or it was disruptive, or like it could be better, like, the way it was written, maybe his part could be on my section instead of like, just like technical issues, but usually not. Musically, it's usually okay. I mean, I think, as you know, like, I don't know how you arrange, but like sometimes, it was like he's very good at like coming up with this sort of very dissonant and interesting arrangement styles, like musical language, where, I mean, I don't know how he come up with like mine would be like very tonal. And at first, to me, it was a bit of a shock. Like, it was like, oh, how did you write like this? And it doesn't sound very good. But when you actually know and learn it, it actually makes sense. And like, oh, that's actually very cool. Like, how did you come up with that? That's completely foreign. So I learned to trust more on his arrangement. I feel like, oh, this is really creative.
That's right. I remember when we did some Enchanted Evening.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
She went through it and she's like, well, obviously this note is wrong. And I'm like, actually, I wanted it that way.
Yeah, because it also sounds different, right, when you play it slow and when you're learning it, and then it sort of makes sense at the end. So
yeah, for sure.
So I don't really question that much on musical side anymore, right? Do I? I
Well,
still make a little.
I mean, I write for myself and I have a different sort of style of playing. And I tend to think of complicated solutions before I think of simple solutions.
Right.
So a lot of times I write something which is very natural and makes sense for me, and Stephanie's like, why didn't you just extend the pattern and make it predictable instead of doing something random? And I'm like, but that makes sense to me. So sometimes,
it doesn't
in
make
fact,
sense to me.
yeah,
You
like,
probably could tell from the Waltz of the Flowers, right? Some of the parts is like you could just repeat the arpeggios, but you have to like rearrange it and make it like so complicated.
that's just the way I think.
Anyway, so yeah.
Sometimes when I write these kind of arpeggios, Stephanie just simplifies it without telling me. She just plays what fits under her hands.
But he doesn't even recognize it. Sometimes he didn't realize it. So like
or maybe he didn't tell you.
No, he would tell me. Like what's really annoying about it? It's like when we practice, right? So
this is a therapy session.
So we'll be practicing, right? And then like I'll be playing my part. And then he missed his his section because he was like constantly policing what I played, and just so that he can like tell me like what I did wrong. It's really absolutely annoying.
It's not that bad.
So would you say your style has become simpler, or it stays like the level of complexity stays the same?
You're crying.
Is that right? It's just funny. Has my style changed? I don't know. Has it changed?
No, definitely.
It has. I would say from Some Enchanted Evening, it's definitely become more complex. Yeah. Some Enchanted Evening, it was like keep it simple. We had to learn it fast.
Oh.
I think it kind of got more complex, and the Waltz of the Flowers is quite difficult.
It's one of the most complex.
I wrote that one when Stephanie got a position as a visiting professor at University of Utah. And I was kind of there, I kind of came along, and I was working at Utah Valley University. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit of a commute, and we were just kind of getting to know the music scene there. And Stephanie was like, I'm playing in this Christmas faculty concert, and we need to make a big impression. So you have to write something for us that's virtuosic. And I was like, yes, okay. So I wrote it, and it was intentionally really virtuosic. And then I showed it to her, and she's like, why is it so hard?
Oh, you have to learn it in like a very short time, like 2 weeks or something. Also, it was not like we have plenty of time, and it has to be Christmas theme, music, right? So, and I was like, what? I mean, it's fine, it worked out in the end, but yeah, it's good. It's good.
And then that one sort of led to 2 more Christmas arrangements that followed in the next 2 years, and I arranged other movements of the Nutcracker, and that would just kind of happened because of that first one. and all of them are reasonably dense and complex. Yeah, but I think before that, that was like by far the most dense and complex thing I'd written, and yeah, it's harder to prepare those pieces. You know, it's nice to have something like Some Enchanted Evening that you can, without thinking about like the day before, you could be like, oh, we got to work that one up, and just go through the hard bits, and then
you can play it. Yeah.
So,
but I think the Waltz of the Flowers and the other ones are, you know, you have to actually practice it and prepare it.
Yeah. Although I quite like doing that style. So yeah, I have since then I've kind of done more complex things. Yeah, but it's harder to get Stephanie to play those ones.
That is so interesting to hear this, that Stephanie finds the arrangement so hard. Because I have to be honest, when we play Waltz of Flowers, I left out a few notes.
Oh, that's fine. It's completely
And then
fine.
I go watch you guys' video. It looks like a piece of cake. You're just like, oh, you don't even need to look at it. You know where everything
Yeah,
is.
well, look, I mean,
Like,
we
wow, how did they do that?
we're the kind of people that we are kind of over prepare things. You know, there's no way we could be nearly as productive as you guys are.
Yeah, we can't be
So-
like you guys, you know, 1 week, okay.
Yeah, that's just amazing how you learn so
That's
much
amazing,
stuff.
yeah. And like those times when you did like live concerts, like you have like concerts
live
every week.
stream.
Oh yeah, the live stream.
Oh my
yeah.
god! I mean, I just like wow, like you have so much repertoire in
Yeah.
your sleeves, you know, just sort of churn out things. Yeah.
We like challenges. So I think that was probably a beginning of like some of the bigger
Yeah,
challenges
I guess
we've ever done.
That trained us for what we're doing now.
Right,
made
right,
us
right, absolutely.
Realize
No,
what's
but it's
possible. So.
yeah, it's a lot of work. And then Claire, you were also doing a bunch of like animation in the back, or just like Monet painting the back or something. Like it was. I mean, that's a lot of work. And then you do a lot of posters and stuff like that. I mean, that's the side that usually I do. I mean, it's to make it good. It takes time, a lot of time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty.
It was fun, but I did grow a lot of white hair from that. I was constantly like, my God, 4 days left, 3 days left. Ah! Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Back then, I didn't have time to arrange because we'd be learning new pieces every week. But now, because we only release one piece a week, I have a lot more time to arrange.
And I have time to do like more of these video effects. And
Right. Actually, we're going to ask you about your video productions. Like, who does the editing? Who does the audio?
Do you discuss ideas for your videos?
So I'm obviously. You could tell I'm quite critical. I'm very critical with things, but I offer my opinion. But actually, I have no knowledge of video editing and so on. So I'm good at giving you a suggestion about like angles or here and there. But he does all this technical side. So like all the audio, all the video editing. He does the arranging, and I'm more into the business side of things, like emailing people, make sure we have good publicity, and corresponding with the concert managers and so on. So
Yeah. I feel like my knowledge of the whole side of video editing is really like every time I release something, it's like just trying out something new, like new baby steps here and there, figuring out a little bit how to do animation, piece by piece, figuring out how to do the video edits and cuts, and what shots look best, and every video is like just another like practice for the next thing. Yeah, I think that's the thing when you release it quite slow.
Were you always interested?
he's interested. He actually used our son as an object of his video editing skills.
I feel like on the audio editing side, like I feel that's something that I can do a lot more close to a professional level. Yeah.
So we were also wondering a bit about your early training in music. When did you start playing, and at what point did you decide, okay, music is the thing, I love it, I have to go after it for my career path?
You want to start? I've been talking a lot. Yeah.
That's okay. You got a lot to say.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead.
So I always wanted to be a musician. Yeah, I started playing the piano when I was 4, and I started lessons. At the time I was living in the States, in Virginia. I was living, and yeah, I just played my whole life growing up. We moved to Australia when I was 14 years old, and yeah, I did my undergrad here in Australia, and then I knew I definitely wanted to be a pianist. At the time, I think I wanted to, do big competitions. I really liked, competing in international competitions. I like traveling. I like playing with orchestras, and so that was my thing. I went to New York. I studied with Solomon Mikovsky at Manhattan School of Music. At the time, Solomon Mikovsky was really big on training students up for competitions, and so he would send me off to competitions, and then he would get feedback from the jurors, and then I'd have to do stuff differently. And I learned a lot that way, I have to say. And I also quickly realized that I really hated, I just hated having to play competition repertoire over and over and over again and not getting to try new stuff. And I think that's also why Solomon Mikovsky has kind of moved away from putting his students into so many competitions, because he wants them to have more repertoire. But yeah, I found that really grating. I also found it really grating that I had to play it. I had to play pieces a certain way, and I couldn't play it the way that I liked. And the way I like to play things is often very eccentric and wouldn't really sit well with a lot of jury. So yeah, I eventually realized, okay, that whole thing maybe is not for me. What I really want to do is I just want to be a music professor and teach students and grow old quirkily and have my studio surrounding me, and that will be my happy place, and I can learn all kinds of weird repertoire and play stuff that only 2 people in the world are interested in, and that will be my passion for life, and I can arrange things and I can compose things and do whatever I want, and that's going to be my base. So then I started my doctorate. Yeah, but everything kind of changes, everything's fluid. And then the next big change was when, we moved to Cincinnati and had a kid. And then it was like, well, now I've got so many more sort of responsibilities on the personal front. And you just have to decide, when you've got limited time, what do you really value with your creative practice, I guess. So right now things are really good. I've got a lot of things occupying me. The only thing is I wish I had more time to practice, but don't we all?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss the student days when you just have to worry about eating and practice and sleep. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Stephanie?
Well, I started when I was 2 because, my mom was a piano teacher and, my brother was also a professional musician. So, yeah, I always sort of, I didn't think that I had a choice. It was more like I was groomed to be a pianist, from very early on. And at some point, I guess I like it, never really liked the practice, but yeah, I enjoy playing the piano. And I always knew that this is my path, and I went with it. So, yeah. I guess
Did your mom and brother teach you piano?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, and my brother did. So my brother actually did all his degrees. So he did his DMA at Manhattan School. So as a pianist as well. So yeah, he's like 12 years older than me. So the gap was a lot. So he was always been an inspiration for my my studies. Yeah.
Do you feel like coming from a musical family, you have a little advantage in music?
In some ways, because I think, advantage in a way that, my brother had to learn it the hard way, right? So this is how the music world works and so on. And now with me, it's more like, he's like, okay, this is what you should do, right? So, you need to do this and that. It's more like sort of like the political side of it rather than the musical side.
Also knowing who to study from and who to listen to and who to trust.
Yeah, and there or like opportunities. For example, like back then, my mom, teaching my brother wouldn't know which competition to send him to, or which festival he should be going to. But because my brother was already in New York, he knows, this will be a good competition for you to come. So I went to competed at the Stravinsky International competition in Illinois. And that was actually apparently the competition where Yujia Wang was competing at as well. And there was Yundi Lee. It was, it was like, and obviously I always won first prizes in my country, but I was a small fish. I mean, big fish in a small pond. Sorry, right? So obviously, I was 9. I went to this competition, and I probably made it to the next round, but I didn't win anything. And it was like an eye-opening experience for me. It's like, wow, it's these people. They were like 10. They were playing Petrushka. This is like completely different levels of pianism. So. And since then, we do more festival. Went to Aspen Music Festival a few times, and met a lot of really nice friends, and and learned a lot from them actually.
So you're talking about, is this high school or?
This is just from like 9 years old until college. Okay. Yeah.
So we're also wondering, actually, for both of you, what made you decide to come to the States to study?
Well, I mean, for me, it was just easy because of I always want to go to the States, right? Because to me, it's because I have been going to States for many years on a regular basis for music festivals and for competitions, and therefore I was studying with Herbert Stessin, who was at that time was the piano chairman of Juilliard School, and it was a rare opportunity. I was very fortunate to study with him, learn a lot. And I made really good friends that was all very inspiring, and my brother is also in America, and he lives in New York. He still lives in New York, and it was a no-brainer for me to come to the United States to study. Okay. And it was very inspiring for me, but I don't know about you. So
yeah, I mean, I did my early training in America because I grew up sort of in the Virginia,
Washington
DC area.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Australia. I did my undergrad here. And so from Australia, more pianists tend to go to Europe or the UK. And I thought that's what I would do. But then I was kind of working a lot with this Australian pianist, Roger Woodward, who also has had a phenomenal career playing a lot of modern music. And I saw that. I was like, wow, modern music. I want to do some of that. So I did this competition in Panama, actually, the Panama International Piano Competition. And that was 2004. And he introduced me to Solomon Mikovsky, who was on the panel there. And his student actually won the competition, Young-Wook Yu, who now is a big teacher in Korea.
In Yonsei University. Do you know him? Were you?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a few doors down from my dorm.
Oh, is that right?
In the MSM dorm.
Yeah, and I think at that time he won the Beethoven International.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's right. Yeah. So, well, before that, he was in Panama. So I met him in Panama, and I thought he was an amazing player. And I was like, yeah, I want to go to New York and study with this guy. So that's how it all started. And yeah, once you're in New York, it's such an amazing place, and there's so much energy, and yeah, you learn so much. And I was only there for 5 years, but I've just got so many memories of my time in New York and the things that I did. And I kind of wish I'd been there longer, but somehow there are other things that you have to do in life. So, yeah.
Did you meet Greg Anderson and Liz Rowe in New York?
I did actually, but we have a lot of common friends.
I did meet them once.
Oh, you did actually?
Yeah. But it was like just kind of backstage, kind of we was coming and going. There was this symposium, I don't know, it was a Stravinsky thing that happened all day, and there was emails get sent out, and we get emails about concerts here in Australia, and nobody responds within a day, maybe a week. But if you're on the email list at Juilliard, you have to be on your email and get back within an hour and say, I want to do this. So in that case, it was something like, dear piano students, Joseph Horowitz is doing a symposium on Stravinsky. Do you have any Stravinsky pieces under your belt that you'd like to play? So obviously, I'm sure the competition for Petrushka would have been really fierce. But I play this little piano rag music, which not that many other people play. You probably know it. It's like 2 minutes. Really fun, jazzy kind of piece that, I think he wrote it. Did he write it for Rubinstein? Is that the one he wrote for Rubinstein?
No, sure.
I have a feeling, I might be remembering this wrong. I have a feeling he wrote it for Arthur Rubinstein, and Rubinstein didn't like it, and it's like, can't you just arrange Petrushka for me? So he did that, and that's how the story goes. Something like that. Anyway, I played piano rag music, and right after me, Greg and Anderson and Rowe played two piano version of Rite of Spring. Yeah, they did part of Rite of Spring. Yeah.
Oh, forehand. Do you mean forehand?
No, it was two piano.
Two piano? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
So earlier, Stephanie, you were saying because you're from like a musical family, so your family can sort of help you decide on competitions. And then Edward was saying Mikowski was into sending students to competition, and that's where you realize that's not something you want to do. In your opinion, how important is attending compositions?
Competitions?
What did I say?
Compositions.
Oh man. How important is it to attend competitions as musicians or as music students? And how important is having this experience in the musical path?
I mean, to me, it was a very important, journey. And it drives me, it motivates me to be the best I am, right? I mean, regarding of the outcomes, but you see people, you work hard, you have a target, and I still do that, and make sure my students have that experience when they're serious about piano. And I think it really motivates you, but it's I think it's very important, but it all has to do with personality as well, right? So different people has different personality, whether competing is something that's for them or not, it all depends. But I consider it to be very beneficial for my musical journey. So I don't know, how about you?
Yeah, they're really like
right? Yeah.
They're really a great I suppose a tool to bring people into the music world, because you see sports competitions, or I don't know,
and also meeting
racing
people,
competitions.
Really. Don't you think? Like meeting people that you would never meet, right? Like I always find I find friendships, from meeting, my competitors, and many of them I remained to be very good friends with, or the jurors, like people that would never hear you otherwise, and then it would hurt you in competition. I mean, I think the result is an added bonus or whatever. But I think it's fun. I think the most important thing is the performance opportunity, and just to get out there and just play your stuff.
Yeah, I would say that's the big thing. And I only realized it later, and I wish I'd realized it earlier, that when you go to the competitions and you look back, and then basically if you look at who your colleagues are down the road, they're the people who were there in the competition with you, either competing with you or on the jury, and those guys are gonna be working in your industry alongside you your whole life. So when I was younger, I think I was too competitive in these competitions. I just really wanted to win. And then, I mean, winning is fun.
Yeah, obviously, but yeah.
But what you realize is the lasting benefit is something completely different.
That's right, absolutely.
Yes.
And I would say the friends, that's a major part of it, and the preparation, obviously. It's a huge amount of work that goes into preparing all that repertoire for a competition.
Right. I had this rival, like my friend who I grew up with, and we always sort of just, actually I always got first, but anyway, but she...
I should ask her, huh?
Anyway, sorry, but she was always, okay, the thing is that she's very polished. She works really hard. She always practices really well, and I'm kind of like this sporadic person, right? But probably my musicality was a bit stronger. I was able to express myself. So people somehow like my playing better, but I think she deserved the prize more than me, because she works harder, and it's always very clean and polished, which I was never like that. But, back then you were like, oh my God, there's her again. Okay. But then now I feel like I have to thank her, if it is not because of you, I don't think I would ever be where I am, because you actually pushed me to do better at every step of the way, and I think she really was a big part of my journey, as a musician. Anyway.
So did you thank her?
I think I did at some point, you know. It's like, you know, all those years, you know, you probably hated me and, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, I'm fine. But the thing is, like, you know, but I think you made a big impact on my life, you know. Without you, I wouldn't be pushed, you know.
It sounds it sounds kind of like anime plot.
Oh,
Have you
is it?
watched Have you watched any of those classical music animes?
Oh, you mean like the Nobile,
Your Lie in April.
Cantabile?
No, damn it, yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah,
Dame
yeah.
Cantabile. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm so happy you mentioned that because the modern one is called Your Lying April, and so the younger generation, that's the only
Yeah,
one.
there's a lot of
I know.
kids who actually are really into
Classical
Really, yeah.
music.
anime, and they get introduced to classical music from anime.
Well,
But yeah,
good
nobody,
for them.
no student now mentions
No
Nodame.
Dame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Younger
guys
generation.
Did you guys watch it?
I mean, I did. I'm sure Edward
don't know.
didn't. So.
Oh, it's an acquired taste, I guess.
He probably don't even know about it, and he doesn't like. He's too nerdy. He's very nerdy on his own like little world.
Tunnel vision kind of thing.
And he's not a TV person. Yeah, we never have TV anyway.
Oh,
So anyway, so
Okay.
Oh, really? So you never watched like TV shows or movies together?
Oh, we do. We have iPads, right? So I mean, we don't have like. So actually, in Georgia, we did buy TV, and then when we moved to Australia, we did it because it's just too many distractions, especially for JJ. You know, we just don't want him to.
Oh yeah.
And I grew up with TVs all the time, you know. But he never had a TV in his life, so. growing up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's very different. And we have an iPad, right? So I mean, iPad is big enough. It's versatile. You can put it in the kitchen, in the bedroom. You know, we watch. Well, we watch stuff every night actually. So yeah. Anyway, so do you guys? How do you guys work together? Do you argue as well?
I noticed that when you
There's a
you
lot of
calm.
knives and whip. No, just kidding.
You're very calm, you know. Yeah. So.
He's the calm one. Yeah. He's
Oh, he's the calm one too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm usually like the oh my gosh, guy's falling! Oh god! Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Anyway,
I noticed you had a lot of questions about arrangements, like you,
Oh yes,
you were like-
yes.
but
Yeah.
I was all those questions I would like to ask to you really,
Yeah, you get
because
asked.
you actually do a lot more arranging than I do. You know.
But he's pretty new. He just started intensely this past year,
Yeah,
like
just-
2021,
yeah,
because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Before it was like one. I did maybe two like back in 2019, and then maybe one more in 2020. But yeah, this year, quite a lot.
But clearly, like you must have had some prior training in like composition or something, because it seems to come really naturally and fluidly.
Yeah, composition. Yeah, I did some composing as a teenager. I'd never published or I never played any of my works, but then I didn't do any at all until recently. And in terms of arranging other people's works, also as a teenager, I used to listen to video game music and transcribe, like note by note, instruments. I used MIDI, so I used different instruments. I
Did
don't.
you say you had the class and then you were inspired
Class.
by the
Yeah,
professor?
yeah. My Baroque, doctoral Baroque seminar. One of the assignments was to transform the C major prelude Bach into anything. So that's where I got this Happy Birthday idea. Like you take one piece and kind of meld it into another.
Right.
But yeah, that was just one assignment. I didn't really do anything else. I did a lot of accompanying, and through accompanying, you know, when you play a concerto reduction, I don't know about you, but I never play the notes as written. I always rearrange. So I
Sometimes it's impossible.
Right. So
like,
maybe
really.
I never thought of
it's
it
always
earlier.
not pianistic, isn't it?
Yeah. But
yeah.
possibly that also made me interested in it, because that's something I always like. I'm very picky. I'd always need my own score so I could pencil in my own fingerings and rearrangements. So yeah, maybe that contributed.
And what about, have you thought of branching out further? Because you also had that question on the page, like, have you thought about writing original compositions for piano four hands?
Well, yes, eventually.
We thought of the questions, but not the answers.
That's a big step, you know. Like, okay, when I was a student, I always thought, oh yeah, maybe I'll be a composer, but I'm completely not temperamentally suited to that. So, you know, there was 1 year of my degree at ANU in Australia where I was doing a double degree in piano and composition. And then that did not work. I was just a pianist, to be honest. And then, so I had like some student things, and I kind of kept composing throughout the years. But I find it really hard to call myself a composer. So for me, like to actually publish a four-hand work for like an original piece, that would be like a big step.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I know. Yes, I feel the same. Yeah, that's why I'm always doing other people's things. Or I mean, I make something original, but it's always based on something else.
You'd have to have like if you had like an opportunity though, like it was like an event or something, like somebody was like, oh, okay, I have a big birthday coming up or something. Can you write me an original piece? And then you would do it, I bet.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your I Got Rhythm variations, is that the only composition that you've recorded and published?
Well, I haven't really published it, but that was also a student piece.
Published the
that
video.
Yeah, that's the only one I put on video. That one I wrote when I was doing this composition class at Manhattan School of Music, actually. It was a really fun class with Mark Stambaugh, who's really interesting composer. And, that class I found really inspiring, partly just because of the way we had to write a new piece every week. Oh. And then we would play it in class, and then we would talk about it. And yeah, it was really intense, and you got a lot of immediate feedback. And that's kind of why I'm a pianist and not a composer, because that's kind of what I live for. And that really changed the sort of dynamic of the whole thing. So I can't remember what the idea of that particular piece was. I mean, why? Like every piece you had an assignment, right? So it was based on a certain assignment, and I can't remember why I had to do that particular piece, a set of variations. But yeah, it was all like just me kind of experimenting and kind of freewheeling and having a good time with stuff. It is a 12-tone piece. There's a row in there, so I take the first 12 notes of I Got Rhythm, the melody, and I transform it so that it ends up covering all 12 pitches. So yeah, it's very weird and experimental. And there's also like rearranging and things like that. So like you don't always have the row in order. Sometimes like you take every third note or take every fourth note, and using all these kind of modernist techniques and playing around with stuff. But if you had to say, okay, what's your compositional style? I mean, I don't know if that would be it. But then also like as an arranger, I feel like that's not necessarily my compositional style. That's kind of what I do because I know we're going to have a good time playing it. I wonder if you asked a composer and you were like, well, what's your compositional style? They probably, I don't know if they would have a clearer idea than I do, even though they're obviously more accomplished in that realm. But I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Like, what's your style? I mean, like when you do Happy Birthday, I mean, that shows you're a chameleon because you have to write in every possible style.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say I have a style. But I am more attracted to tonality than modernism. So I doubt I would ever write like a 12-tone row. Yeah.
Schoenberg, Happy Birthday.
What if you did have to write a Schoenberg Happy Birthday?
I guess I could have some fun with
it. Sure.
Hey, when is Schoenberg's birthday? You could try.
Yeah, this is my challenge to you.
Actually, I did think about Stravinsky, but yeah.
Stravinsky would be fun.
I think he has his special sense of humor. And maybe he himself probably can't answer it, but I see it in his like Happy Birthday, it just when he tells jokes, his special sense of humor, it kind of reflects in his music, I think.
Okay, yeah. So only yes, awesome.
I guess so. Yeah, ask him to tell you a joke, maybe. Yeah.
Cool.
So, do you teach your son piano?
Yes and no.
We definitely need outside help.
Oh, yeah.
Just for the discipline and having somebody else to say what you did is not good,
Yeah.
Or, when mommy and daddy says, it's correct, I remember like you got this.
I've had
message.
parents write to me saying, I was at the lesson and I told my kid that they were supposed to practice the way you told them, and they're not listening to me because I'm not musically trained. And I wrote
Right,
back,
but
I'm
you
like,
are.
it has
So
No,
no,
like,
they're not
this
listening to
is-
their
this
parents
is,
because the parents
our
are not
student-
musically trained.
right, I know, but you are. So wouldn't your son be more?
Yeah.
No. It has
Absolutely
nothing to do
no
with the
credits
musical training.
whatsoever.
It has to do with the, parent-son relationship.
Yeah, it's like he questioned me. He's like, "Are you right? You're wrong. I bet this." I'm like, "Oh my god, I don't need you to tell me."
You don't take out your degrees and go, son, look.
The degrees
This is
doesn't
why.
mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's like,
So we definitely need some outside help. And so, he has some other teachers that he goes to, some friends.
I think you can be teaching the worst student in the world, but like your own child is like the worst. Anyway.
So it is true. You just doesn't
It's
matter
hard.
if you're a musician or not.
Doesn't
You can't teach
matter.
your own kid.
No, I don't know how. Maybe other people is fine because the kid is very obedient and would like do whatever you told them to.
I
Not
think,
our son, definitely not. Yeah.
I think another thing is the expectations,
Oh.
because when you're a parent and if JJ does anything that's not related to music, like if he draws a picture, Stephanie's like, oh, wow, that's really nice. Or if he, I don't know, plays sports or whatever, he's like, wow, he's really fast. Oh, he's really good with the ball. Oh, he's so coordinated. All that kind of stuff. The bar for, praise
Other
is set a
things.
lot lower because the expectations are a lot lower. So
That's right.
I think when
it comes to
he's
piano, it's
doing
just
piano,
like,
the expectations are, well, I have students who are like already doing much better than you. So why aren't you at their level?
I mean, I'm not even expecting that.
Well, it's a little bit of that, 'cause he has to work a
he's
lot.
nowhere close
He has to
to
work a lot
anything.
harder
Yeah.
to get any, positive
I mean, if
reinforcement.
he's
to purchase.
half good, I mean, half, working as hard
I'm
as
just
my
saying.
students,
I'm just saying. If your profession was art or something,
anyway, it would be
then
different.
it would be different. It would be completely different.
Yeah. Anyway, but you know when people are not practicing correctly and how damaging it could be and how useless and how that would be like a terrible thing to do, right? I mean, how much effect that goes into it. So.
I don't necessarily.
Anyway, so
I'm curious, Stephanie, did you ask how your mom taught you?
with a lot of force and a lot of screaming and she was.
And then you wouldn't listen to her either, right? So she had to send you off to other teachers.
Yeah,
So it's the same generations after.
I was difficult. My brother was the obedient one, right? So he would always do whoever told him to do whatever, he would just do it, He would practice this like systematically, I guess I was a bit like JJ. I never really read as well, so until I was much older. So I guess it's karma.
Yeah. It all comes from your side.
It's terrible.
Well, I see on you guys' Facebook, he's doing so successfully. He's great.
Not really. but anyway.
Congratulations. I mean, your hard work pays off. So would you try to steer your kid into becoming a pianist? Or
No, not
it's
really.
too early right now to...
I mean, look, I think it's important for us that he's learning music, period. Like, you can learn, as you know, you can learn so much from it. Disciplined, persistent, working hard, and when you do that, and it's also it's very rewarding, right? Because you get to enjoy the music, beautiful stuff. You learn a lot of stuff, memorization. I mean, there's so many things that you can do, and there's so much life skills also you can learn from learning music. I think it's important that he learns properly and he gets to a high level. Whether he wants to make that into a career or not, I think we will leave it up to him. I mean, as you know, being a musician is a very hard career. And, unless you really love it, don't do it. Otherwise, I mean, if you want to do it, sure, I'll support you. But if you want to do something else in life, go ahead. But learning music to a high level is not negotiable. I think to us is important.
Have you ever done a concert of just your arrangements? Like, do you have enough to fill a concert?
I mean,
if you put them all together, but
Possibly.
we haven't. Yeah, we haven't.
Okay.
yeah, it just never seems to, because all my arrangements are kind of
Virtuosic,
similar. Yeah,
yeah.
well, no, they're not all virtuosic, but they're all kind of like the kind of pieces that you would put up on YouTube and people would listen and they'd be like, that's really nice. And somehow when you do, I mean, I suppose,
Live concerts are
yeah.
different, isn't it? Like you want like more variety and different kind of styles, or
yeah,
and
we always feel like we need to
Yeah.
have some kind of like meat in there, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe we're kind of old fashioned that way, you know, like, you know, growing up, you always had to put your classical sonata in your school programs.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So
We haven't.
I'm just kind of used to that. So we always
Yeah.
try to do that, have something a
So
little bit more
mix
serious.
like, you know, something, an original composition, something serious with something else lighter and something more fun, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's not impossible, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta write serious music, not all silly stuff.
What's the next arrangement planned?
Yeah. So we talked about the Gershwin thing. So I
yeah.
was like, oh, you know, write me Gershwin stuff. I'd love
Some
to play
songs?
Some Gershwin.
This was a little
Yeah.
bit of, it was kind of a misunderstanding because Stephanie always wanted me to do a Gershwin arrangement.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we picked the Gershwin song. And then I was like thinking, okay, she said she wanted kind of like Earl Wild style, you know, because they're all those famous arrangements of, you know, these really showy solo piano arrangements of these songs. So I listened to the Earl Wild one and I was like, you know, he's got all the virtuosity, but he's using basically classical harmony. You know, he doesn't really venture too far into the jazz idiom. And so I started listening to some, you know, jazzers play the piece, and then I transcribed some jazz solos, and then I did a little research into jazz theory, and, you know, I improvised myself, and then like notated that out. And so I had a lot of sort of source material, and I put it all together, and it came across as being like really complex. Now, I honestly don't think it's complex like Waltz of the Flowers is complex, but we haven't really got a chance to properly
We haven't
play
even
it.
tried it yet, so.
Yeah, but I've already got a lot of pushback just based on looking at the page, you know. How come there's so many notes here? Yeah.
Which song is it?
It's
Embraceable You.
You.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, what?
So we'll see if we actually manage to play
Yeah, so like, this is not what I imagined.
It
I
might
wanted
might have to be that I have to take a
beautiful,
different
yeah.
song and, you know, do it more simply. But anyway, it was
We'll figure it out.
it was
I haven't tried it yet, but it just sounds like, what is this?
Was that planned for Valentine's?
It was supposed to, but we just got to.
yeah, because there was a women composers thing hit, and then we
Yeah.
didn't have any music by any women composers. So Stephanie had to learn a solo piece, and I had to bring back some women composer stuff. Like
And we
Stephanie
had to learn
learned
some
a solo piece from scratch, and
Yeah.
and then when we were doing stuff, we ended up doing an arrangement of there's this Chaminade, Andante and Scherzatino. Have you guys looked at that?
But that's two pianos.
Which is for two
Okay,
pianos.
no.
So we
But-
made
but
it fit on one piano.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, she also wrote a suite though, four hands.
Oh, really? We couldn't find
Yeah.
that one online.
Oh,
Yeah.
You couldn't
I have a
find
whole
it.
bunch of female composers in a folder on my computer. I'll just send you the whole folder.
Oh, that would be so
that would
helpful.
be
Thank you so much.
So what we should have done is when we
should
heard
have
about the
contacted
concert, we should have just
Scott.
written to
Yeah.
Scott.
And
Yeah. When we were doing the live streams like 2 years ago, every week was a
Right.
theme. So I had planned a female composer theme, which we never did, but I collected a bunch of music. So
oh, fantastic! Yeah.
and then Stephanie, you should write something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be one
Post.
composer right there.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like I've had a little bit of experience as a kid doing arranging and composition, but like no, I'm not comfortable.
Well,
with it.
take your childhood composition and
Yeah, and he's gonna be like, oh my god, that's so simple, like, you know.
I like simple. I do simple. No.
And then it's like even his parents, right? And like, did he just arrange? Is that his version? Because like that just has like his name all over it. You know, it's like that doesn't sound like a Mozart.
If anything has too many notes, they think it's me.
yeah,
So-
exactly.
Oh.
It's like
I just have a last question. So, what would your advice be for young people or anybody who's looking to go down the music path and become a musician or a pianist?
There's so many, right? I mean, where do you start? I mean, I don't know. What would you say?
Well, I mean, I've kind of simplified it to two things, which is number one, you have to like teaching, because whatever you do, there's going to be some element of teaching involved. That's not universally true, but I mean, it's true for you guys, it's true for us. And I find that, yeah, so many people want to learn more about music, and you need to have that desire to, you know, bring musical knowledge to people, I think.
Whether it's teaching, students or teaching the audience, I guess, right?
Yeah, but
or,
teaching is so much part of like,
or
being a
like just
successful
bringing
professional.
out the culture to, sort of exposing people with certain kind of music. I mean, that's also teaching, right? I mean, not like just one-on-one thing.
And the other thing is just financially, like if you did anything else, you'd make more money.
Do that.
So
Is that what you say?
it's just like, if that's your priority, then then do the other thing.
If money is your priority, don't be a musician. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, like you do music because you
love
love
it.
it,
Yeah.
and you're willing to make sacrifices for it. And
Yeah.
maybe I should change the way I do it, because when I put it that way, everyone is always like, "Oh yes, that sounds wonderful. I want to be a musician." So maybe I should put it in a way so that people think, "Oh, maybe that's harder than I thought."
Oh,
It's
you
a
put it in the
hard
positive way, you mean?
Yeah. How do you put that in positive ways?
I don't know, but I mean, I'm so happy being a musician. I want everyone to enjoy life as much as I do.
Oh,
So yeah.
Then just keep it that way.
You see, he overcomplicates things. He's not able to go like straight line. Oh my god! So we are a lot more spicier than you think.
oh, we can see, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Furia, thanks for putting up with us.
No, thank
No,
you.
this was
Thank
fun.
you for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure.
Do this.
And it's actually our first time talking.
I think
that's
it's
true.
our
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
time like really talking.
Yeah. Next
Like have a
step is
conversation.
Yeah, not just hi and bye.
Yeah.
How did you learn all this technical stuff, Claire? So you do all the video editing and everything, right?
Hey, I think you should take over.
No, say no. It's very tiring. No.